Good evening and welcome to one and all present here. Myself, Trupti Parekh, your host for today. Switch India is a pan India healthcare organization of 1500 plus medical professionals all across 8 states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Karnataka, working on various healthcare related social activities, including conducting free health checkup camps, working on physical and mental health, spreading awareness on various medical conditions, and so forth. Through Switch India, we present to you this series called Stepping Out of PT School and Answer to What After Graduation for all the physiotherapists to be in order to explore and know more about the latest options available in your field from the ones who are practicing them currently. We've already covered the first 4 weeks of the series on studies abroad, fields of specialization, work setup options for physiotherapists, and ideal physiotherapy practice. Coming to our final week, which is about the current scenario of physiotherapy today, where because of the risks associated with COVID 19 transmission, teleconsultation has been very helpful in keeping our patients healthy. I'd like to welcome our honorable speaker for today, Dr. Shruti Pandya. Dr. Shruti Pandya is an orthopedic physiotherapist. She has done her master's in musculoskeletal sciences from Sancheti College of Physiotherapy, Pune, after completing her bachelor's from KJ Somaya College of Physiotherapy, Mumbai. She has special interest in trauma and post-operative orthopedic rehabilitation, offer number of certifications, Pilates training, K-taping, neurodynamic solutions, aqua aerobics are a few. Dr. Shruti has been a presenter at various platforms including Avishkar, Scientifica, Trinity, and Lower Limb Dysfunction Workshop, which is an international workshop. She has volunteered in various medical camps and physiotherapy health camps with NGOs. Dr. Shruti is a physical therapist who is keen about promoting the profession, raising awareness, and helping physiotherapists excel in the field of interest. And she is always willing to learn new advances in the field and sharing her knowledge with the fellow physiotherapists. Welcome to our channel, ma'am. We'd love to know more all about your insights that you've brought for us today.
Thank you so much for your wonderful words and the way you introduced me. That was really wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
Okay. So, beginning with the session for today, we'd like to know your story of why did you start with teleconsultations?
Yeah, sure. So what happened was when the COVID started, when we were into a lockdown phase, when the first lockdown was announced in India. So at that point of time, I came across like my old patients, which I used to see every day for house visits or at my old job. So they used to call me repeatedly because they were in need of the physiotherapy service, but because of the lockdown, they weren't able to access the service. So that is when I thought that something has to be done because everybody is locked at home because of the lockdown. And I thought of beginning with an initiative of giving free physiotherapy services for that period of time, the during the lockdown. And that is when I tried for the first time the entire this concept of telephysiotherapy. That also was very new to me, and that was the first time I tried doing that. So initially, I used to see patients via email consultations only, and very few selected patients who I thought were in need of video consultations. So I used to take them also. So over a period of time, I kept on seeing patients. I took feedbacks from patient about how do they feel, how is it going and what are the problems are they facing. And I failed a lot of times. I learned, and over a period of time, I learned a lot of things. And over a period of few months, I learned so many things, and I found solutions to so many problems that I created my own blueprint of the entire process of how the teleconsultation should go, and how it should go smoothly so that there is no problem either to the therapist or patient. So this is how I began practicing telephysiotherapy, and then later on over a few months I tried helping other physiotherapists also by taking webinars and stuff like that, and help them also to how to go about this entire process.
That was really inspiring, ma'am. So, ma'am, I'd like to know that how has teleconsultation evolved throughout the entire COVID crisis?
Right, right. Okay. So what I would say is this telehealth, the concept of telehealth, which we are seeing today, it's not just physiotherapy, but even other medical professionals are using telehealth for consultations and treatment. So this entire telehealth has had a very remarkable importance in the entire COVID pandemic. Okay, so it has, what I can think of are some of the huge ways how telerehab has experienced a surge in the COVID pandemic. First of all, what I would see is that there is a clear shift in moving the healthcare from a doctor's office or a doctor's setup to patient's house. Okay, we as physiotherapists we do house visits, we do home visits. Okay, but again that is about physical coming into physical contact. All right. So in this, because of telehealth, what has happened is the entire setup of the patient's treatment has changed from doctor's clinic or a physiotherapist clinic to the patient's house, that too virtually. So that is one very important, you can say, evolution that has happened in this pandemic, and with the concept of telehealth. Secondly, what has happened is telehealth has allowed the professionals to see the patient in their house. Because of this COVID pandemic, a lot of people were working from home and they were having issues because of work from home, right? So because of telehealth, what has happened is we as professionals are able to see patients in their habitat that is in the job. I would like to give you an example here. Okay, so supposed example, patient is saying that he or she is having difficulty in sitting on a chair at this particular angle or this. So when the patient is visiting you to hospital or clinic, it is very difficult for the patient to explain, and the therapist has to imagine whole lot of stuff. But with tele rehabilitation, what happens is you can exactly see, in which premise of the house and with what activity and with what angles, and how many times on performing how many times the particular activity the patient is having problem. So the whole thing is shifted to the bulk of health, the bulk of the patient's health belongs to this the house, or where the working area. So that is one important thing that we have noticed in the COVID pandemic when we have started practicing telehealth. Third thing is that distance has become a very minor problem now, as we all know, because telehealth, if not anything else, it has proved to be very, very useful when it comes to seeing patients from a distance. Say, I'll give you my example. I have seen patients from, like I live in North Mumbai, which is Mira Road, right? But I have seen a lot of patients from South Mumbai. Even if I was doing home visits, or even if I was working at a setup, I would have never seen patients from this far. Okay, so that has become possible. So now if a patient wants to show a particular therapist or a doctor, the patient has the speed because of this telehealth. And also what I feel is people might feel that telehealth is temporary, and it's just because we are facing the COVID-19 crisis right now, and we are just living in a bubble. The bubble is going to burst as soon as the COVID-19 crisis is over and the world is back to normal, the economy is back to normal. But I would like to differ here. Okay, so what I feel is this opportunity of learning teleconsultation and tele-rehab, it should be taken as it should be taken as an opportunity to be prepared for any emergency that comes in future, any similar kind of emergency where where we have to involve technology into healthcare. So this is a testing time, this is a learning time, and we shouldn't think that and plus because of all the other added advantages, not just avoiding or preventing infections to the therapist or patient because of social distancing, but there are a lot other advantages of telephysiotherapy. So keeping those advantages in mind also, telephysiotherapy is going to have a great scope in future.
Great, ma'am. That was really great. So, according to you, teleconsultation also has a very nice scope in future, as you just
Yes,
mentioned.
right, correct,
So, ma'am, what is the patient's perception about
right.
teleconsultations?
Okay, so when we talk about patients' perception, what we need to understand is telephysiotherapy is not it is definitely something that has been used a lot on a large scale because of the COVID pandemic. But there have been researches which have been done since years before even we started facing this global pandemic. Okay, so there are patients who have been taking teleconsultation since the last few years. I have taken teleconsultations before the COVID pandemic when I was working at one particular institute. All right. So for those patients, the perception is not much different. Okay, for those patients, it's a choice for them. Now coming to the patients who take telephysiotherapy for the first time, or who are very hesitant to take telephysiotherapy. So to understand what is going to be the patient's perception about telephysiotherapy, it is very important to know that what is patient's perception about in-person physiotherapy. Okay, so before trying to consult a patient on tele-rehab, you need to understand what is that patient's perception about in-person physiotherapy. If a patient thinks that physiotherapy is all about which the patient is right, I don't disagree with that. So if the patient thinks that physiotherapy is about close contact, close physical contact, manual therapy, tissue release techniques, and how are these things going to happen on teleconsultation? Okay, that is going to be the perception about a patient's perception, and this what I have seen when I have been practicing since the last few months. I have seen that most patients think in this way, but because the current pandemic has forced us into this alternative way of treatment, okay, so the patients want to be treated, but they have this kind of perception. So we as physiotherapists, it is important for us to understand this thing that the patients are going to be hesitant, the patients are going to be skeptical about the entire process. This is a truth, and this we have to accept. And then it is our responsibility as therapists to educate them about, to make them understand that how are we going to go through the process and how are they going to be treated, irrespective of the presence of the physiotherapist by their side. So yes, in short, I would like to say yes, the patient's perception about teleconsultation is going to be very doubtful, confused. There's going to be a lot of confusion, and they are going to be skeptical about the entire process.
Right, right, very true. So, ma'am, what all challenges did you face, or could one person taking teleconsultations face while doing it?
Right. Okay, so definitely I wouldn't say that, teleconsultation is all roses. No, it's not all roses. There are going to be a lot of challenges when you see a patient on teleconsult. All right. I would like to point out a few important challenges that we as physios specifically, we as physios will face during teleconsultation. Firstly, whenever it comes to any assessment techniques, where you need to do hands-on assessment, okay, that is not possible on teleconsultation. That is a challenge. But let me tell you something, okay, every challenge can be outweighed by a particular advantage that teleconsultation provides. Okay, let me tell you I'll tell you the challenges, and I'll tell you what are the advantages that you can use for about teleconsult, that you can use to outweigh the challenges. So for example, as I said that the conditions wherein hands-on assessment techniques are required, so those are difficult during teleconsultation. But let me also tell you one more thing, that cases most of the cases, be it orthopedic or any other case, most of the cases it is easy to diagnose. If you have good knowledge of your particular field, it is easy to diagnose the patient on basis of the history and some special tests that you can do on video call. So hands-on assessment, definitely it is required in some cases, some cases you just can't deny the fact that hands-on assessment is required, but most other cases you can just bypass that hands-on assessment and still diagnose the patient and manage them. So that is first thing. Second thing is the assessment techniques which are required to check the progress of the patient. So say for example, I'm seeing a patient who I'm treating for shoulder range of motion, okay, for say any case who has restricted shoulder range of motion. I'm treating the patient for that. Okay, now I want to check the progress of that patient. Say for example, today after my therapy the patient had 20 degrees. Tomorrow I want it to be obviously more than 20 degrees. But how is this specific, specifically how are you going to assess the progress? So that is going to be difficult, in that is a challenge in teleconsult. But we have applications that help you to check range of motion virtually, like with the help of your mobile phone. So there are applications that are called as goniometer. They are similar to what we use. Obviously, obviously it's not as good and efficient as the actual goniometer that we use, but it is going to give you readings somewhat similar. So we have basically applications and things like that that can basically for substitute for the in-person assessments that we do. So that is the second challenge. Then the third challenge is technological glitches. That is a huge challenge here in telephysiotherapy. Connectivity area, then you are going to face problems with, there will be frozen screens, there will be dropped calls, all those glitches, technological glitches create somewhat challenge in carrying out a smooth session. So for that we have to make sure the patient as well as therapist both have to make sure that you are sitting in a good area where there's good connectivity, and so as you can avoid these problems. The fourth challenge I can think of is treating patients who have audio or visual problems. Okay, so the patients having hearing or visual impairment, they cannot. I feel is
Hello. Yeah, Dr. Shruti, could you please reconnect your mic?
am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Trupti, I'm having some difficult. Hello.
I will just. Yes, Dr. Shruti.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, 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 okay. Hello?
Hello,
Hello? 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 Hello?
hello. Yes, Dr. Shruti, now we are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm really very sorry for all the problems. But this is
It's okay, no
what
problem.
I exactly referred to technological glitches that we face
Right.
in teleconsultations too. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
So, yes, yes, go
yeah.
ahead.
All right. So what I was trying to say is the patients who have visual or hearing impairment, they are also that is also one of the challenges to treat such patients with teleconsultations. They cannot directly benefit from teleconsultations. Like if they are individually taking sessions, it is going to be obviously very difficult. to treat such patients with teleconsultation. But if they have some help, or with efforts of a friend or any other relative or help, we can definitely try treating them. But yeah, this is one of the challenges. So we were talking about challenges. So these are what I just spoke. These are the challenges that we face in teleconsultations.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, you told us about the challenges and also how we could overcome them. So, we would also like to know that apart from the challenges, what all things, like what all different things should we keep in mind while teleconsulting?
Right. Okay. So basically, when you are teleconsulting a patient, be very aware, because you are not seeing the patient in person. Okay, when you are seeing the patient in person, you have a better idea of the patient. That is an undeniable fact. All right. So when you are seeing patient through teleconsult, you have to be very aware of small things that happen. Say for example, you have to tell the patient, to update you in case the pain worsens, or in case some new kind of pain starts, anything like that. The patient has to be constantly updating you about his or her health status. This is what I feel is extremely important in teleconsult, because we cannot see patient in person. When we see patient in person, we have that confidence yeah, this patient is good. I have actually seen and palpated the joint, or this part of the body, and it's good to go. But that is not the case in teleconsultation. There are other important things, like in teleconsultation it is very important to counsel the patient and explain the procedure to the patient. Most of the times what happens is patients are very apprehensive, that they're putting time, energy, money into this process, and is it even going to be helpful to them. Okay, they are going to be very skeptical and very confused about the entire process. So the counseling is very important, and it should happen before you actually start with the sessions. So that is something very important to keep in mind. Then what you can when you are taking the session with the patient, it is very important that your background is clear, it's neat. All those things important, but otherwise what is important is make sure that just you are visible in the camera frame. Okay, not someone else. Why? Because whenever a patient who is getting treated by you virtually sees someone else roaming around behind you, that patient is going to doubt the confidentiality, which is not a good sign. And it's not going to, the patient is not going to stick around you for treatment. So this is very important, because when we are seeing patients in person, we make sure that we are in a cubicle, or we are in a place where patient feels safe, comfortable to share their problems with us. So same has to be followed in teleconsults also. Other things what I can think of is, yeah, so when you are taking teleconsults, it is very important that you are dressed well, you are dressed professionally, and your background is good. When you are talking, you have to give clear instructions. So all those things also matter a lot if you want to practice you want to practice into telehealth. All right, and one more important thing is, whenever you decide that okay, now I want to start practicing teleconsultation, it is very important. Time and again, I keep saying this. It is very important to know the red flags of whatever specialty you are treating in. Say, for example, you are going to see more of orthopedic cases, so you should know what are the conditions and what are the red flags in each condition, and those patients should strictly not be allowed for tele health or teleconsultation. They should be referred or you should go and see the patient in person. Or if you cannot, then they should be referred to the practitioner. But those patients are a strict no for teleconsultation. And in case when you are seeing, say for example, you are seeing the patient, your sessions are going on, and you see that the treatment is not going anywhere, there is stagnancy in the treatment, your treatment is not helping the patient. Many a times this is seen, and this is a clear sign to indicate that a patient is not benefiting from tele physiotherapy. and the patient has to be referred to to a therapist who can see them in person, or if you feel that physiotherapy itself is not being helpful, then you have to refer the patient to some specialist, the concerned specialist. So all these things are important to keep in mind when you are thinking of practicing as practicing telephysiotherapy.
Right, right. Very true. So, ma'am, who all are the candidates for teleconsultation that we
Right.
could get?
Okay, so to decide the candidates for teleconsultation, it is what you all can do is you can establish a patient criteria. Okay, so now what is this patient criteria? So that will differ according to the specialty you belong to, and according to the type of patients you see, and according your own experience, you can design the patient criteria. There is no standard patient criteria as such, which is available right now in the current situation, but you can definitely design the patient criteria, like what patients are eligible for telephysiotherapy and what patients are not eligible for telephysiotherapy. I have some few examples on basis of my own experience that I can share it with you all. Okay, first of all, we'll talk about patients who are eligible for telephysiotherapy. Most of the patients who have got orthopedic complaints, they are eligible. It's safe to treat them via teleconsultation. Then even neurological patients that are independent, okay, they are independent enough to perform the exercises, or if they are not independent enough, there is always a help present, help in form of friend, relative, whatever. There is always a help present throughout the session. So these patients are ideal candidates for teleconsultation. Then apart from that, all the other cases also, like say cardiorespiratory, all the principle applies to all the cases, that they should be independent enough for a safe teleconsultation session or telerehab session. If they are not independent, if they are dependent, they cannot move around freely. Okay, so if they are dependent, it is a must to have somebody by side. So if you come across a patient who is dependent, who is not ever help, they are not ideal candidates for telerehab. Then kids, even if you want to treat kids or you want to treat geriatrics, okay, both the cases you all can treat, okay, but a help is a must. A help in form of relative, friend, caretaker, anything, help should be available. Okay, all the cases where hands-on treatment or in-person supervision is not a must are the candidates that are going to benefit from telephysiotherapy. So say for example, a patient does not require hands-on treatment. You can, suppose a patient requires sort of that, and you feel like this this mobilization can be replaced by self mobilization, which the patient can do at home. Okay, so that patient is eligible for telephysiotherapy. Then there are patients who require in-person supervision, the patients who cannot understand on basis of your instructions that what he or she is supposed to do. So those patients cannot be good candidates. But if the patient is understanding well your instructions, your commands, and what you are saying, the patient is able to comprehend well, then they form good candidates. So as I said, it will depend on your experience. You will have to start seeing patient. It will also depend on one particular patient, their case. And at some point, suppose you have started tele consulting a patient, and at some point of time you feel that now I cannot go ahead with this because this patient has difficulty understanding my commands. This patient is not able to follow what I'm saying. Then that patient can turn from an eligible to non-eligible patient. So that is the reason there is no fixed criteria, patient criteria, like who is an ideal candidate for telerehab. But these are the pointers that I just mentioned. They are important to judge whether a patient will benefit from telerehab or not. Then coming to who's not eligible for telerehab. So patients with red flags, again, as I said. Say for example, a patient with low back pain gives you a call and says that I'm having severe low back pain, and I'm having incontinence. I'm having urinary incontinence. Now, urinary incontinence in a low back case is a very obvious red flag. So at that point of time, you have to say that I'm sorry, you are not you are not eligible to come into teleconsult, and you will have to show a physiotherapist or a different consultant in person. So these kind of patients who show definite red flags, or on basis of their complaints you understand that they have red flags, they are not eligible for teleconsultation. Then patients who are unable to understand your language, there are language barriers that are happening, and patients who are not able to comprehend your commands, they are not ideal candidates for telerehab. Patients who lack motivation, okay, we have seen many patients who lack motivation even in in-person setup. Okay, they don't follow up regularly, or they don't follow the treatment protocol well. Such patients will not benefit from teleconsultation. Even if the patients push you that they want to have teleconsult with you, you can try it out, but you have to be very you have to operate and lack of following can be a hindrance in the process of recovery. So patients who lack motivation, this is what I have also experienced in my the last few months where I have been seeing patients. There have been patients who don't have motivation to uh, take treatment and get treated well. So they don't form good candidates for telerehab, because telerehab is going to require more efforts, little more efforts than in-person treatment. Then patients that are acute cases. Say for example, a patient who doesn't know what is the scope of physiotherapy, and they come to you that I've got an acute, like patient has got an acute fracture or an acute stroke case. Obviously, they are not going to be ideal candidates. They need appropriate medical attention. So these people are not going to be good candidates for teleconsult. Then patients who have difficulty in using and understanding technology. So there are many patients who will not understand how to operate on video call or stuff, because teleconsultation technology plays a very major role into the entire process. So patients having difficulty understanding technology, and some minor problems, obviously we as therapists or their family friends, they can help. But patients who have huge difficulty in understanding technology, they just cannot operate. Mainly this belongs to the geriatric patients. So if they don't have any help around, they are not the candidates for telerehab. They're not going to benefit from telerehab. So yeah. So in cases, what I feel is, in cases where there is confusion, whether a patient is, suppose, say for example, I get a patient and there's a lot of confusion between me. I have confusion that whether or not should I take this patient for telerehab. You can always start the session. You can explain the patient that, listen, this is how it is going to be. We can start with the treatment. I'll see how it goes, and if I feel that it's not going anywhere, and if I feel that you are not able to understand well, or you are there is a lot of hindrance because of whatever points that I already mentioned, then you can stop and you can always refer the patient. So you can do a trial of few sessions if in case there is confusion. But obviously the points that I mentioned right now, they are very straightforward points, whether you should take a patient or you should not take a patient for teleconsult. But otherwise, if you feel that the patient may benefit but I am confused, then you can take a trial of few sessions and then decide.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much for breaking it down so well for us. So, ma'am, what would be the pros and cons of teleconsultation over the actual physical consults?
Right. So I think regarding this, I've already spoken about a few points, about hands-on assessment and all. But again, I'll break it down into pros and cons. Okay. So for pros, the good things of teleconsultation is that it is a great means of delivering service in a pandemic, as we all have seen, because Right now, the lockdown has opened up, things are slowly getting back to normal, but we are still in that danger of, the pandemic has not clearly gone away. So still the teleconsultation remains a very good means of delivering service to the patient. Then the another important advantage is that you can have access to your therapist from anywhere. Okay, anywhere around the globe, I can say. Okay, so that is one very good advantage about telephysiotherapy. You can see patients outside your city, you can see patients outside your state, you can see international patients. So yeah, so this is a great advantage. Then it is a good option for remote areas as well, provided that the connectivity issues are sorted. Then yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, you can connect to the to your choice of therapist without being too much concerned about the distance. As I said, I have seen many patients from South Bombay and I reside in North Bombay. So you can understand the distance, but still it was possible because of teleconsultation. Then flexible time schedule for the therapist. Therapist can, give appointments according to the time that fits best for the therapist, and flexible time schedule for the patient as well. And the patient can avoid long waiting hours. If they are going to a clinic nowadays, the long waiting hours and everything is sorted out by appointment system. But some places, still have those long waiting hours and all those problems, so that can be figured out by this. And we can have a flexible time schedule wherein the therapist and patient, they can discuss what time is suitable, and on mutual agreement they can fix an appointment, set up a call on that time. So these are the pros of teleconsultation. The cons, as I already mentioned, the technological glitches are a big problem, and we need to make sure that that is taken care of. Second is hands-on assessment limitations, as I already mentioned, and the treatment techniques, say manual therapy, mobilization, tissue release, all those treatment techniques which are hands-on treatment. Okay, so that is also going to be limited. But in that case, what is happening in teleconsultation is teleconsultation is mainly the patient actively exercising, actively working on themselves. The therapist is only, educating, guiding, and giving the protocol, but the patient is actively doing it. Okay, so this means that, we are involving patient more into the active treatment program, and the patient is becoming even more responsible for their own health. Okay, so we are so that is not really a huge problem, the hands-on treatment limitations. So these are the cons of telerehab. These are the pros and cons.
Right, ma'am. That was really well explained by you. So meanwhile I'll request all the viewers that if you all have any questions, then you may start putting in the chat box, which will be answered after a couple of questions that we have. So, ma'am, would you like to suggest any apps that would be useful for teleconsultations?
Sure. Okay. So I come across this question very often that, ma'am, if you know any apps or softwares that are useful for teleconsultations, definitely. But before giving you all the names of the apps and all, I would like to tell you that this is just a piece of suggestion or advice, that focus on the foundation more than the adjuncts. Okay. Uh, these apps and softwares, they all are adjuncts to your teleconsults and telerehabilitation. But what is more important is your foundation, your knowledge about the that particular your knowledge about that particular condition, and how are you going to treat all those things are more important. Particular exercise, or how are you going to make sure that the patient is doing the exercises correctly. All those things are more important. Obviously, at some or the other point of time, you will need assistance from an application or assistance from a software, but consider them as adjuncts. Focus more on foundation. So apps and softwares, I'll like to suggest few names. First is Ask Me. For apps, there is an app called as Apex, APECS, Apex. Okay, this is a posture evaluation and correction system. This app is mainly useful for assessment of posture and giving a feedback to the patient. So basically, this app, what it does, it asks for a photograph of the patient. Suppose you want to see the lateral view. So lateral view, you will have to take the photograph of, you'll ask the patient to send the photograph, and there will be all lines and markings which will help you understand that, whether the patient's posture is optimal or it has been deviated at some point or the other. Okay, so this is one app that you can use. Then I was talking about range of motion assessment. So for range of motion, there is an app called as goniometer records. There's another app which is just called goniometer. Okay, so these apps can be used because, as I mentioned earlier in few points, that to measure the progress of the patient, to assess the progress becomes difficult. Okay, so these apps are useful for that. Then there are various the softwares that can be used for exercise chart. So I would like to say here that, when you are doing teleconsult, and although you are showing the exercise, you are making sure patient is doing properly, but later on, there is high probability that patient might forget or do the exercise in the wrong way. So in that case, I usually give exercise charts to the patient. So there are various softwares that are available that can help you prepare those exercise charts, and they help you prepare them in a customized format. Okay, so you can customize the chart according to the patient and the case of the patient. Say for example, there is simple set which can be used. Then another, there is Physi app, PHYSI APP. It is Physi app. And third is HEP, Home Exercise Program. So these are the apps or software that will help you design your own exercise chart. So these are the things that I personally use. I personally don't use too many applications or softwares. As I said, focus more on the foundation than the adjuncts. So yeah, definitely applications are important, and these are few important applications that I could think of and I personally use.
Great. So, ma'am, now we'll quickly go through the questions that we've received in the chat box. Mm,
Okay, all right. So there's a question: is it effective to the scan and X-ray reports in teleconsultations? Okay, yes, definitely it is. You can ask the patient to send the photographs, but I understand that, patients don't send proper pictures. So you have to basically guide them, that the background should be light and things like that. But definitely they can send you the picture, and you can assess the X-ray or radiological findings on the teleconsults. So I hope that is what the question meant. Okay. Moving on to the second question that says, "Ma'am, is there scope in physiotherapy?" I'm sorry. Uh, okay. I'm opting it as a career. Definitely, there is a huge scope ahead in physiotherapy. If you are interested in entering a healthcare field where you want to intervene a patient without giving medicines or without surgery, physiotherapy is a great field to be a part of, and definitely there is a huge scope. Physiotherapists are serving the community at a very large scale currently, so there is a huge scope as if you are thinking as a career in physiotherapy. Yes. Yeah, I don't see any more questions.
yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, is there anything that you would like to share with us?
As in
Apart
regarding
from
what?
all this, would you like to share any experience or anything with us?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So basically, what my experience has been, I would like to tell you all that I was not knowing how to teleconsult a patient. To be very honest, I had zero knowledge about this. But then I tried, and wherever I faced a problem, see, so let's take this example of uh, assessing the progress of the patient. Okay, so that was a problem for me, so I looked out for solution. So even if you start with teleconsultation, initially you are going to face a lot of problems. Okay, you are going to face problems with respect to everything, almost everything that you used to do in person to the patient. Okay, so I would like to say that sometimes it lose heart when you feel like you just cannot practice it as smoothly as in person. Don't lose heart at that, because whenever you face a problem, try to look out for a solution, try to talk to your friends, try to uh, talk to your seniors who are practicing it already, and you will definitely get a solution, and that is how you're going to learn, and that is how you're going to master the practice of tele-rehabilitation. So even I did not know anything. Over the last few months, I kept on seeing patients. I learned a lot from my patients. I'm a very keen observer that how does a patient place the phone. So I had one patient he was really good at phone placement. I learned phone placement from that patient, and then I applied it to different patients. Then there were times when I failed at diagnosing the condition correctly, and then you know so because of that failure, I went back, I read stuff, and then I came back, and the basically the recovery was slow for that patient, but the recovery happened. So this is how you learn. Just that in teleconsultation, don't put any patient's health at risk. If you feel that the patient is not going to be treated, obvious red flags or things like that, which require medical attention, then do not let them come into teleconsultation. I would suggest that even if you start practicing teleconsultation, always make sure that you have some guidance of someone who is already practicing it, so that whenever you have some problems, you can always contact to that person, your senior or whoever is already practicing, and then you can have a solution to it. So basically, you don't want to put patients' health and patients' life at risk. So yeah, that is the thing.
That was really nice, ma'am. So thank you very much, Dr. Shruti Pandya, for such an amazing session. This will definitely be helpful and guide all the budding physiotherapists and those practicing currently. Thank you to our promotional partners, All About Physiotherapy, to help us spread the word about the series. Thank you to all the participants who tuned in for our sessions and hope you all will have a better idea about tele-rehab. Summarizing all the sessions of our series that we had. So, in the first week of studies abroad, we had our speakers telling us about how to pursue studies in UK, Canada, Australia, and US. In the second week, we had the specializations in PG, in which we saw musculoskeletal sports, cardiorespiratory, neuro, community, and oncophysiotherapy. Following which was our third week, in which we saw the job options for physiotherapists, in which we saw how physiotherapists can work as a teacher in the management field, as a researcher, and how one can set up their own clinic. Then we had a session wherein we saw how ideal physiotherapy practice is like. Finally, in today's session, we saw how to consult patients online through tele-rehab. So, in case you all have missed any of these sessions, or you still have any more doubts or queries regarding them, then you can always check back our videos on our channel and let us know our questions in the comments section. So we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Also, do let us know your reviews and feedbacks in the comments below about the today's session or about the entire series. Also, if you found this video useful, then do like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click on that little bell icon down for regular updates. Also, if you have any ideas for more such series that we must organize, then please do get in touch with us. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. And this was your host, Trupti Parekh, signing off for today. Thank you so much, everyone.